Hi, I'm Yuki neずみ. Nice to see you. Today's video is tutorial for Quartz Products Factory. But before that, a little good news. Yeah, very good news. Be surprised. I bought a new CPU. Hooray! See, my FPS is only 20 now. I did that to improve it. Maybe it's in America now and I'm waiting now. Popo! I'll get higher FPS and I get stronger. I'll report back when it arrives. Then I'll be shooting a music video for the nuclear pasta factory on nice FPS. I can't wait. Okay, let's move on to the main topic. Go! Wow, it is fast. Cool. Actually, this is my first time using a hypercannon. Nice. Today's topics are these. Please make use of the timestamps in the description. The factory came into view. It is a Quartz Products factory. There is also a music video for this factory, so if you like, check it out. I have arrived. Before touring the factory, let's check out the recipes used. First, here is the overall flowchart. It seems complicated. First of all, let me say that my recipes are not necessarily the best. The best recipe varies depending on location, remaining resources, and electricity and scale. But I hope this tutorial will help you find your best recipe. Let's get started. The end result is silica and crystal oscillators and computers and radio control units. And the top half is dissolved silica recipes and the bottom half is electronics ones. Let's look at it from the bottom right. The first is the radio control unit. First, let's look at what it's used for. By doing so, we can decide how many these to produce. Then, radio control units are available to these and these are available to these. In my case, I didn't use these three alternative recipes, but please note that this recipe is necessary to produce plutonium fuel rod maximum efficiently. And I'll make 25 thermal propulsion rocket and 63 fixed-site ingots. So I made a total of 150 radio control units. Now that the production volume has been decided, the next step is the recipe. There are three recipes for it. Normal recipe, connection recipe, system recipe. The connection recipe uses 1.3 times less aluminum than the normal one, but uses a lot more quartz and caterium. The system recipe uses 1.25 times more aluminum than the normal one, but 3 times less quartz. So the normal recipe is balanced. Yes, all three are good recipes.
Nice.
And I chose normal recipe because I plan to make the crystal oscillators and computers in the same factory. Now that we have the recipe for the radio control unit, let's check the computer. Computers used for these. In my case, the supercomputer was made in another factory before this one. So I need a total of 210 computers for 150 radio control units and 60 biochemical sculptors. But I was on a roll, so I built 400 computers. As I later found out, it was my mistake. By the way, it might be a good idea to make also a supercomputer in this factory. I'll definitely do this if I want to start over in a new world. If I want to build it in this factory, I would need an additional 120 computers. I will explain this method later. Next, let's choose a computer recipe. There are three recipes for it too. Normal recipe, Caterium recipe, Crystal recipe. The normal recipe basically requires just copper and oil to create it. As a side note, this copper can be replaced with Caterium or iron. The Caterium recipe uses 1.45 times less oil than the normal recipe by adding Caterium. The Crystal recipe uses a lot of less oil and copper than the normal recipe by adding Quartz. I chose the Crystal recipe, but if the Crystal Oscillator isn't made in the same factory, the other two recipes are also useful. Next is Crystal Oscillator. It is used for this, and the Superposition Oscillator is used for this. It is not recommended to use it to create motors, as motors can be created with only excess ion. In my case, the required crystal oscillator is 370, and now I realized I actually only produced 337.5 crystal oscillators. The other ones, it's not enough. The reason for this that I was on a roll and baked many compares. I have to visit the factory later. I want to chop off my roll when I was on a roll. Sorry for the digression. Let's get back to the recipe. There are two recipes for the crystal oscillator: normal recipe and insulated recipe. In the normal recipe, it can be created with only quartz and iron. The insulated recipe adds oil and Caterium and has 1.8 times less quartz. I chose the insulated recipe. My world is short on quartz. I really like the combination of these three items so far. It's easier to assemble than making each item separately. Let's go a little upstream. Next is circuit board. It has 4 recipes, but the only difference is the materials used. There is no good or bad. I chose normal recipe. No special reason, just because. Next is the AI limiter. It has 2 recipes. The plastic recipe uses 1.3 times less Caterium by replacing copper with plastic. So I chose plastic recipe. Let me now recommend the supercomputer I mentioned earlier. You can make it by simply adding 2 recipes to the steps above: high-speed connector and supercomputer. Give it a try, I highly recommend it. Probably you can create a more impressive factory than mine, I think. Back to my factory. The rubber and plastic are made at the second recycling factory and sent to here. Please check it out this video. Let's go further upstream. Next is a Quickwire. It can be bulked up with copper, and the amount is 2.4 times. But be careful, as it requires a lot of copper. If I make 60 Quickwire, the normal recipe uses 12 Caterium, and the fused recipe uses only 5 Caterium, but plus 25 copper. There is much more copper than Caterium in this world, but it has more uses. I can't say which recipe is better, and I use the fused recipe. Speaking of which, check out the Caterium. It has 3 bulking up recipes. Each of them use 2 times, 1.5 times, and 1 times less Caterium ore than the normal recipe. My recommendations are the sulfur and water recipes. Compare the two. If I make 36 Caterium Ingot, each of recipes use these. The sulfur recipe is very material efficient, but the process is tedious. The water recipe is simple, but uses 1.7 times electricity than the sulfur one. I chose the easy way. I actually use 1 pure node 1200 ore per minute, and I needed 450 ingots. So I majority use a normal recipe. But if I used only normal recipe, little not enough. So I divided the ore into 2 recipes. But how do I divide? The math goes like this. The number of Caterium ore used in the normal recipe is x, and the number in the water recipe is y. The sum of x and y is 1200. The normal recipe gives x3 ingots, and the water recipe gives y2 ingots. I needed 450 ingots, so the sum of x3 and y2 is 450. Solve this quadratic equation. Something, a sign, then do this. Yes, x is 900 and y is 300. In this way, I was able to use it all without any waste. I'm getting sleepy, but I won't stop. Next is copper seed. It has a recipe that backs up with water. It saves twice as much copper. It consumes a lot of electricity, but it should be used. But why did I choose a normal recipe?
I didn't think copper is short resources at the time. I just wanted to use up the copper around the
Factory. Also check out the copper ingot recipe. It has 4 bulking up recipes. Each of them saves 2 times, 2.44 times, 2.5 times, 2.4 times copper. I recommend these too. The iron recipe is easy and there is plenty of iron, and it saves electricity. The water recipe is most efficient with copper and water is infinite, but it requires 2.6 times more electricity than the iron recipe. In this factory, I chose the iron recipe because there was some iron around here. Okay, aluminum casing. It has a recipe that works up with copper. It saves 1.125 times as much aluminum ingots. So I used the alkylat recipe and I wasted the copper. Incidentally, I can also choose not to use copper. Then the numbers change. Caterium increases 3.4 times and aluminum increases 1.125 times, but less plastic will be needed. If you want to make a lot of nuclear pasta, this might be a better option. Whew, that explains the bottom half. It will be very short until all is revealed. There are several steps in the upper half, but I won't go into the process up to the iron plate today. Also, there is only one recipe for nitric acid, this one, so it's okay. All that remains is the quartz processing process. Let's go! First, let's look at the recipe for quartz crystals. We'll take a different perspective from before and see how many products can be made from just one piece of raw quartz. One raw quartz will produce 0.6 crystals using the normal recipe. Similarly, produce 0.72, 0.77A and 0.625 crystals each recipes. In addition, the purification recipe produces also 1.125 silica by adding one step. The most crystal efficient recipe is the water recipe, but with purification recipe we get 2. Which is better? To answer the question, we must also check the silica recipe. Similarly, one raw quartz will produce 1.6, 2.3 and 1.125 silica each recipe. And the distilled recipe can also get 0.625 crystals to be combined with purification recipe, as I mentioned earlier. The most silica efficient recipe is a limestone recipe, but with the distilled and purification recipe we get 2. Which is better? Now let's compare the efficient recipes combination with the get-to recipes. In the get-to recipe, the ratio of the two products is fixed. So let's follow that and make 625 crystal and 1125 silica. Using their respective most efficient recipes, the crystal uses 804 raw quartz and the silica uses 482 raw quartz. A total of 1286 raw quartz are required. On the other hand, the get-to recipes require 1000 raw quartz. This means the get-to recipe uses 1.3 times less raw quartz. Also, the other materials we will need in this case are these. The most efficient recipe combination uses much limestone, and the get-to recipes are complicated and uses precious nitrogen. but only produces 1.3 times as much. To be honest, the get-to recipes are not very practical, but there is a sense of accomplishment to use it, and the pink color of dissolved silica is very pretty. And it is necessary if aluminum is to be produced at maximum efficiency because there is not enough silica. So I love it. Also, there are ratio restrictions in using it. This recipe produces 5 to 9 ratio of crystal and silica. For example, in my case, the quantity of silica required is greater than this ratio. So I made all of my crystals using this recipe, and the remaining silica using the most silica efficient, cheap silica recipe. Okay, now the recipe is all figured out. Let's go the factory tour soon! よっと。あれ My explanation took too long that it became night. But the night makes conveyor belt Mach 6 even more beautiful. It's great. Good morning. I'm going to start the tour. This factory is located on Forgarden Beach. First off, this is a train station. And this is Quartz Station. The quartz are sent from 2 mining stations. Both of these are very beautiful cave. This is iron and copper station. One train carries a little copper and a lot of iron. Next is also copper station. A lot of copper is transported. And that is Caterium and copper station. The two stations face head on. Caterium is processed into ingots before being transported and coming from the left. The copper train is coming from the right. Next is Rubber and Plastic Station. The second rubber and plastic recycling factory is located in Spiral Coast and produces rubber and plastic from 2,000 to 2,250 crude oil per minute. This biome is colorful and it's one of my favorite biomes. But many of the beautiful coral reefs have been landfilled by us. It's an unavoidable sacrifice. This is aluminum station. Aluminum is sent from a distant aluminum factory. In this way, a lot of material is sent and becomes this beautiful conveyor river. These machines make iron plates for nitric acid. They make iron ingots and they make iron plates. Next step is nitric acid, but before that, he extracts the nitrogen gas over there. He, as said, is he. He is powerful and makes the ground shake. Da-dan-dan! This is nitric acid step. It demands iron plate, nitrogen gas, and water. The water comes from there. The color of the top of the blender vary depending on the product. I like it. Next is quartz purification step. A large amount of raw quartz coming from the station joins here. The cute pink liquid flows this way. And the quartz crystal that is created here goes to the crystal oscillator step. And this is distilled silica step. Limestone comes from over there. A long conveyor belt. Also, water is there. The water circulates, so only a little is needed. For example, this group uses 300 to produce 240, so only 60 water is added. There is a bulb here that limits it to 100. Limiting it to exactly 60 will not be enough because the amount of water fluctuates. Set it just a little higher. and the water produced might want to be prevented from backflowing using a bulb or height. Okay, we get silica, which is sent to the aluminum factory. That's a huge amount. This train goes very far. Bye, good luck. Now let's go back to the first stations. Wow. My movements create a lag and a lot of machines stop a moment. Are you okay? Oh, that's good. Here I'm making copper ingots for Quickwire and aluminum casing. A similar set of machines in the back makes the same things for copper sheets. Let's ignore it and move on. Many cateriums join together from the station, and copper ingots flowing. Then they make quick wires, and quantity increase significantly. I use 8 conveyor belts to carry them with plenty of transport capacity. Then plastic is coming. Hi! I mix in a lot of plastic to create the AI limiter. The sight of huge amount of goods flowing and being processed is overwhelming. Moreover, add the quartz crystal we just made and lots of rubber. And next, make a lot of crystal oscillators. All 180 of these yellow manufacturers make crystal oscillators. I lined up a lot, right? It's actually easy to place them for using blueprint, but it's hard to plan space to put them, and it's a hassle to connect them. But when I look at them like this, it feels too great. Nice. Let's go back to the first stations again. Aluminum. Aluminum spelling is so cute, isn't it? It's wavy. Here, I make aluminum casings using copper from the left and aluminum from the station. However, the aluminum casings are used last, so they are transported around the perimeter of the factory to the back, like glue. Next comes the copper ingot I mentioned earlier, which float to the next and become copper sheet. Plastic is come again. Hi! Plastic and copper sheet are mixed together and they become circuit board. They are 80 purple assemblers. I mostly use the default color combination, which definitely better sense than me. This purple and green combination is one of my favorites. Now we come to the computer step. Part of the crystal oscillator we saw earlier joins the circuit board, and there are 120 fixed color assemblers for computer. Computers are flowing. That's been overproduction. Next comes the final step, radio control units. Aluminum casings, crystal oscillators, and computers flow by. And these 60 manufacturers make radio control units. Its color is yellow, which is same as the crystal oscillator manufacturer. The lag is terrible. The final number of radio control units is 150, so there is no need to use Mach 6 conveyor belt, but it's cool, so I used it. My recent thoughts are that the Mach 6 conveyor belt slows down my computer. It may just be my imagination, but I feel that. Do you feel that? Radio control units are flowing. 50 of them be exported by train to a thermal propulsion rocket factory, and 100 go to a nuclear pasta factory by drone. This was the last one. but there's an added bonus. This is a temporary factory of power shards. I think it is best installed in a Quartz Crystal factory. Now check out the power shard recipe. Here is a recipe for power shards. There are lots of ingredients. But if you follow me, it's no problem. Let's prepare one at a time. The first is excited photonic matter. It's very easy. Just install the converter. The converter binds the photons into molecular form. I don't fully understand it, but it seems this phenomenon are also involved in light travel. Anyway, you don't need any materials for it. Next up is dark matter crystal. It is the most troublesome part. It's made from the byproduct of power shards, dark matter residue. Set up a particle accelerator and mix dark matter residue and time crystals. The concern with this cycle is whether the dark matter material will decrease. For example, adding 1 dark matter crystal will create 6 dark matter residue. And from 6 dark matter residues, 2.4 dark matter crystals can be produced. So don't worry, discard the excess in the sink. Or you can use also this recipe to get the just amount. Now we need one more thing to start this cycle. Add another converter to create dark matter residue. Only at this time is a small amount of reanimated sun required. Once circulation has commenced, it's okay that the converter be dismantled. Alright, next is time crystal, but I think it's better to import it. The form of the time crystal is very compact and easy to transport. It can be made from coal, limestone, or petroleum, but in any case, it is better to be produced at the mine into time crystals. And finally, we add the quartz crystals that we make in this factory. Yes, you now have the power shard. Actually, it is like this. The excited photonic matter is very cool. Ta-da! And there, power shards. Be careful, we can't throw away power shards. Don't make too many. But if you really want to throw it away, just flush it down the toilet. This concludes the tour. Yay! I hope this video is helpful. Thank you so much for watching all the way until the end. See you again. Bye bye.